one of those things that if you know, you know. I totally understand that not everyone has been a people pleaser. Not everyone has allowed the opinions of others to affect them to where they have lost sleep or their appetites. Not everyone has endured toxic people without the ability to set healthy boundaries. Not everyone has been bullied, intimidated, strong-armed, persecuted, or oppressed by another human being. And it's a tremendous blessing if you haven't experienced these things. But there are many who have. I've actually experienced all of these situations. All of them. And in my adulthood. So this is more than a t-shirt, a hoodie, or a podcast. It's a movement. A movement that I want to reach whomever is hurting from being hurt. I may not know a lot, but this kind of hurt, I do know. One day I realized that I was allowing other people to have entirely way too much effect on me. Unfortunately, upon coming to this conclusion, I began to place blame on these people and put up walls. That got me absolutely nowhere. You see, walls keep everyone out, but boundaries show people where the door is. But I didn't know how to set boundaries, especially healthy ones. I had never even heard of setting boundaries, and I had never seen it done. What I did know how to do was hide. Hide my feelings, my emotions, my truth, and who I really am. And when you can successfully hide in plain sight, you have potential to become a people pleaser. This is where you allow yourself to become like Play-Doh in the hands of others. You become easily pliable in areas that you shouldn't. But it's not their fault. It's yours. Why? Because you cannot control people. People are going to do whatever they want. You can only control yourself. You are in charge of you. You are accountable to the man or the woman in the mirror. And I realized that the hard way. We have to literally sit down and figure out why we allow this and why we are trying to please others so much. Chances are we want to fit in, need approval from others, can't say no. We're scared of what people will think of us. We may have low self-esteem, insecurities, past trauma, and so on and so forth. But this is where healing can come in. When we take the focus off of people and pivot that attention to the why, we're halfway to restoration. If we heal from the why, we can be delivered from the what. For example, if I learn to stop saying yes to Bob and start saying no for my mental health, then I can become free from the chance of Bob taking advantage of my yes. Make sense? Let's make this clear. Aside from physical and verbal abuse, people are not the issue to focus on. It's what we allow. Going back to the Who Are You podcast from last week, we have to remember who we are. When we know who we are, we also know what we deserve. And once we know what we deserve, we should be able to effectively communicate what we expect from others. I'm not saying this is easy by far. It's not. But it's necessary. Because being treated with respect is not optional. It's essential. And speaking of respect, the world says that you have to give respect to get respect. But God says differently. The word tells us to honor all men, not just who we want. And James 2:9 says if you favor some people over others, you are committing sin. Read that whole chapter, actually. It's eye-opening. Not to mention Matthew 5:9 says in the Message version, don't hit back at all. If someone strikes you, stand there and take it. No more tit-for-tat stuff. The chapter goes on to talk about loving your enemies. Yes, this is a real thing. We are supposed to be like Christ. He gave his best to everyone, even those who crucified him. We are to live generously and graciously towards others, just like God does toward us. This is where we can love people and also be delivered from them. If you have someone in your life that takes advantage of you, your job is to let it be known. Create boundaries with that person that are clear and direct. Hopefully it can stop there. Unless the boundaries aren't respected, that's where you can practice loving detachment. In other words, love them from a distance. But you are responsible for protecting your heart by not allowing resentment, bitterness, and hatred to come in. Because whatever is bothering that person is their issue, not yours. We have to accept people for who they are without thinking that we can change them. It can be easy to stop talking to people, lose their numbers, and act like they never meant anything to you because they hurt you. But true growth comes from acknowledging your emotions, forgiving, and trusting again. Oh, to trust again. That's an episode all by itself. But how can we learn to love how Christ does without learning how to love those who persecute us? It's effortless to love someone who loves us back. But how do you love someone who hurts you to your core? There's the challenge. To be angry but sin not. We get to cast every emotion to God because He cares. He knows it hurts. He's been there. Listen, being delivered from people is not about disliking anyone. It's actually the opposite. The movement is about being capable of forgiving people so much for offenses that it becomes second nature. Real forgiveness. Even if it means that the relationship becomes exempt, you're healed enough to let it go. Cues Elsa singing. But seriously, delivered from people is about being whole, forgiving freely, being true to yourself, loving unconditionally, unafraid of people's rejection, unconcerned with the opinions of others, and setting healthy boundaries. I just want people to be free. That's my purpose. Always remember that if the Son makes you free, you are free indeed.